This is all theater. This is all just political theater.
Political theater. Political theater.
Pure political
theater.
Theater.
Political theater.
The
nefarious,
significant and protracted
political theater for political theater's sake.
I yield back.
From Washington, this is Political Theater, Roll Call's review of the spectacle of politics on Capitol Hill and across the country. I'm Jason Dick. Well, here we are in the aftermath of Election Day 2024, right? Yes, it's 2024. Back with Nathan Gonzales, Roll Call's elections analyst and the publisher of Inside Elections. Nathan, I know that you have been very busy explaining to people across the land exactly what happened. And so we're looking forward to that, to knowing exactly what happened. Just kidding.
Well,
we know
I'm in a little bit better place today. Yesterday when I had a lunch event and I was working off of 35 minutes of sleep, all of which took place in an airplane next to the largest person on our airplane, I believe. So I'm in a slightly better place.
I agree. I was dealing with maybe a little bit more sleep, but it was kind of fitful from about 3:30 to 4:35 or something like that on Wednesday morning. So I feel like I can actually just function basically. But I do, and I know that, like your time is like you're compressed with people who want to know, just some sort of inklings. And I figured that like we can do this with just like a few real quick questions, like that, because we still have a bunch of House races, uncalled. We don't even know. We figure that the Republicans are in a pretty good position to be in the majority in the House, but we don't know. They right. need to count all the votes, and in California and in Arizona with some really tough races there, really competitive races. But I wanted to start off with one, which is, again, this is a former English teacher here, someone who, and now an editor. Words are important. The first thing I have is, can we retire the term blue wall?
My suggestion is maybe just paint the wall a different color. It appears to be a wall, and I believe I saw that Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin have voted together going back to 92 or something like that. Some people can fact check in real time on the comments in the comments section. So it is a wall. A blue wall, I think, is an overstatement. So maybe we just go with a different shade, right. Something a little bit more neutral when we're talking about those states.
Right. And the origin of the blue wall for, Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania is that Democrats had done quite well there starting in 1992 with Bill Clinton's presidential run. They were frequently swing states. These were, Michigan gave us Reagan Democrats, right? Or at least the term Reagan Democrats. But they had voted, sort of along Democratic lines at the presidential level until Donald Trump, won them in 2016. He won each one of them rather narrowly, as befits a swing state. And then Joe Biden won them in 2020. And then Donald Trump has won them again in 2024. So it to me, I just think like when you call something blue and it's been red out of 2 out of 3 elections, I think that, purple or whatever you want to call it is maybe a better expression of what those states represent, at least at the presidential general election level.
Yeah. It's funny. I believe each state wants to be known individually, right? They're their own people and stuff, but they have been voting together for decades now, right, in terms of which candidate support. So yeah, blue wall, that term should be retired, but I think wall could be a part of it.
Yeah. Next question. Who is the leader of the Democratic Party?
That's good. We have 3 hours, I think, for this episode. That is a great question. I don't, President Biden is on his way out. I think that's pretty clear. Harris, there are some people who are blaming her for this loss. I think that's a little bit short-sighted. I think Democrats have to do some soul searching about the root of this, and it's probably a combination of message and messenger. Hakeem Jeffries is going to continue to get a lot of attention. He's probably not going to be speaker. It looks like Democrats are going to fall short in the House. There will be attention probably put on governors. A few of those governors, Gretchen Whitmer, Josh Shapiro, Secretary Buttigieg will probably have an increased role, at least in the meantime, until there are future elections. But the short answer, that was the long answer, Jason. The short answer is there is not a leader of the Democratic Party right now.
Right. January 20th, when, at the inauguration, I think that, it's going to be clear, that there is a bit of a vacuum, even with people like Jeffrey still on the scene and Harris, wherever she goes and so forth. So it's a good question. And that leads right into the next question.
Well, and maybe the party needs to decide where it wants to go. But, let's put it this way. Let's pose another question. Does the party need to decide where it wants to go and then choose a leader, or are they going to choose a leader and follow where they want to go? And it's probably going to be more from a policy message standpoint first, at this early stage.
Which is kind of the opposite of the way that the Republicans have gone, where the Republicans have Donald Trump is our leader and whatever he wants, that's the direction we're
no matter what he says, even if those position stances are against what the parties believe for 30 years.
So I guess this is the next question, and you hinted at a little bit. Will the Democrats do kind of a proper autopsy? I mean, we kind of, if you talk to people who have been around Washington for a while, and you mentioned the Republican autopsy that Whit Ayers and his folks did in 2012 after Romney lost to Barack Obama after they expected to win, it's this thing that they, people went through and said okay, we need to do this, and then they just kind of properly discarded it or promptly discarded it and went with Trump in 2016, went with everything that was sort of against the autopsy. But do you think that we'll see some kind of effort on that from the Democratic Party apparatus to say, this is what we stand for, this is what we need to do to rebuild a coalition that can win on a national level, or do they just drift along?
I'm not sure how official it will be, but they should do it starting at the individual and then having discussions about it. If you're looking for good news as a Democrat, the good news might actually be the totality of the loss of the 2024 elections. Trump winning, Republicans getting the Senate. Looks like Democrats are going to fall short in the House. There's really not anything Democrats can hang their hat on and say, well, at least this happened. It's there really isn't anything like that. So when we have elections like this is the time when parties should have that self-reflection. I don't know that the DNC even has enough authority if they were to come out with some sort of similar autopsy that people would give it a lot of credence. But within groups within the Democratic Party and the Democratic wing of the spectrum of the country, they have to be doing some soul searching. Right now, I think they're just shell shocked. I think they just don't even understand.
It was tough getting phone calls returned yesterday for stories we were writing. I mean, people who have communications directors in their title were not returning our reporters' phone calls. Which,
in a way, I almost respect it. If you don't have a good answer or have an answer at all, don't just try to flub your way through it. But at some point, they're going to have to find answers. I just don't even think because on one level, the fundraising was great. It looked like the GOTV effort was great. People were in it, just, it didn't. Nothing. So they're going to have a lot of reflection.
The flip side of that is, what lessons do the Republicans take from this, other than that they won? It seems like the breadth of the victory surprised even some Republicans.
Oh yeah,
as well. So what lessons? I mean, it's usually that's a moment of triumphalism is not when you take out you go on the analyst couch necessarily, but what do they take away from this? What kind of lessons do they learn so that they can continue to be successful or appeal or build a lasting party apparatus that goes beyond just, a 78-year-old man?
Right. I think the surprise was in how well Trump did in areas that we weren't focused on, right? New Jersey being a handful of points, Illinois cutting the loss in New York in half, maybe in half in California. There we go.
The roll call front page, Trump surges in blue states. And what
I don't think that was, people expected Trump to, there was an expectation on the Republican side that Trump would win. The Senate was the most certain thing that we all knew before coming into Election Day. But on election night or the wee hours of Wednesday morning, Trump was talking about a mandate, and that's what parties do. What exactly I think Republicans might, particularly President Trump, might misunderstand what voters said. I am not convinced that voters wanted or know what mass deportation looks like or feels like. that this was a vote for getting fluoride out of water or banning vaccines or pardoning January 6th insurrectionists. And I think we could see some of those things, but it was mainly about, I think, voters not being confident in Harris's leadership, frustrated with the direction of the economy in the country, holding Harris and Biden responsible, holding the Democratic Party responsible for the border, all sorts of problems. There was a rejection of the Democratic Party, not necessarily a "we love Trump" and all of what the Republican Party stands for. So, but we're in this waiting period where we have to listen to what each side believes happened, because that will guide their future action.
And I think that leads into, the last question, which is 2026. I mean, politics never sleeps, but there are very seldomly times when one party controls the White House and both chambers of Congress, and the reason for that is they interpret these mandates as saying, like, we can do whatever we want, and then they do whatever they want, and the voters say, wait a second, I don't like that. I'm going to vote you out of office, and I'm going to vote for divided government. We see that this happened with Biden. He lost the House in 2022. Trump lost the House in 2018. Obama lost the House in 2010. So what do you think happens? What are in 2026?
2026 is going to be the U.S. House election. I mean, and I'll explain. It looks like Republicans did well enough in the Senate this year that their majority can withstand a pretty bad midterm election. Democrats probably only have two real opportunities in 2026. Susan Collins is up in Maine. I'm not sure she's going to even run again. Jared Golden is going to get a lot of phone calls to run. It's easier for Jared Golden to get elected statewide than it is re-election in his congressional district. And then North Carolina with Tom Tillis, don't know whether he's going to run again, but North Carolina is competitive enough that in a bad midterm we could see that going. But that doesn't get Democrats what they need. Then they're going to have to look at either Iowa or Texas or Alaska, it gets really kind of bleak. What we know about the House, Republicans, if they hold, it's only going to be by a handful or less of seats. And so that's going to be the opportunity for Democrats to surge back. So this isn't just me with a vested interest in congressional elections and races. I do believe in 2026, we're going to be talking about who can control the House of Representatives.
Nathan, thank you so much for your insight. I know you got a lot going on in the aftermath of this election, so thank you very much, and we'll get you on another time.
Sounds great. Good to see you again. We're alive. We made it.
We did. Talk to you later.